I've got to get to this op-ed written by Jonathan Turley. Now, he's one of the commentators on a lot of things like that. He's like a legal commentator. He's not a President Trump fan, although he sided with President Trump's position in the impeachment hearings. So he's really not a fan of President Trump. He's not a conservative per se, but he said President Trump's legal team was correct in their position in the impeachment hearings that what was alleged to have been done with respect to Ukraine, if you remember the whole phone call, if anybody can still remember that, I mean, it seems like a lifetime ago, right? But if you can remember all that, he said that there was absolutely nothing wrong with what the president did, and he was able to do all that. Well, it was nothing impeachable, put it that way. That's really what he said. He didn't make a judgment one way or the other about whether there was something wrong, but whether or not it's impeachable, an impeachable offense. Well, he had an op-ed in The Hill last week, great op-ed, and one of the things that he talked about is how the Washington press corps can engage in willful blindness with respect to the Russia investigation. He said it's astonishing that the media refuses to see what's one of the biggest stories in decades, that the Obama administration targeted the campaign of the opposing political party based on known false evidence. It wasn't just false evidence. They knew it was false, and they still targeted the presidential candidate, which was then candidate Trump. And if you remember at the time, we had Obama administration officials who were ridiculing any suggestion that there was any kind of spying on the Trump campaign. They would almost laugh it off derisively. Are you kidding me? You know, this is such a I can't even believe you asked me that question. You know, that was their attitude. And now that we know the truth, we know that's exactly what was going on. You remember how President Trump said that they had wiretapped him, and everybody said, oh, he's so stupid. It doesn't even work that way anymore. There are no wiretaps anymore. Everything's electronic, digitized, et cetera. There's no wires, basically. So he's such an idiot. Well, okay, maybe he used the wrong term, or maybe he didn't, because that's the technical term in the law, wiretapping, right? But regardless of the term that he used, he was right in substance, and they tried to act like he wasn't. If you remember, even just last year, Attorney General, when he was testifying before the Senate, when he was being questioned whether or not he would be approved to be the Attorney General, he said that, yeah, he did believe that spying did occur. And, of course, the media, again, just absolutely lambasted him. So now, this Jonathan Turley op-ed hits 5 key points. I'm going to try to run through them here and still save some time for our Out There, because we have a great Out There this week. So let me see if I can do that. Let me see if I can hit his 5 key points. Point 1, the Russia collusion allegations were based in large part on a dossier funded by the Clinton campaign and the DNC, Democratic National Committee. And if you remember at the time, they denied that. The Clinton campaign totally denied it until they were caught red-handed, and there was irrefutable proof that and then they admitted it. Even Maggie Haberman, New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman wrote, quote, folks involved in funding this lied about it, and with sanctimony for a year. So they just lie. They lie until they get caught. Then they change their story. And I'm sorry, but what makes us believe a word they say now? Point 2. FBI agents had warned that the dossier author, Christopher Steele, may have been used by Russian intelligence to plant false information to disrupt the election. Of course, this is coming probably from source D&E, Sergei Milian. And apparently, it was known to the FBI that Russian intelligence was potentially using Christopher Steele to plant false evidence. Third point, the Obama administration had been told that the basis for the FISA application was dubious and likely false. We talked a couple of weeks ago about, or maybe it was last week, but anyway, in the last couple of weeks, we've talked about Peter Strzok reviewing those 4 administration officials who leaked to the New York Times, supposedly, and he wrote an analysis of that, and there were like 10 false points in there. It was false. They had no evidence. He kept writing that. Well, we actually have no evidence whatsoever of any collusion or coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia. Fourth point, the investigation by Special Counsel Robert Mueller and Inspectors General found no evidence of collusion or knowing contact between the Trump campaign and Russian officials. The same thing that Peter Strzok was writing about in early 2017, so the same thing the FBI knew all along. This is before the Special Counsel was ever even appointed. They knew there was no collusion, no coordination, no conspiracy, nothing. Point 5, this is the last point. President Obama and Vice President Biden were aware of the investigation, as were administration officials who publicly ridiculed Trump when he said there was spying on his campaign. Now, we know Vice President Biden has denied it, but now notes have come out from the meeting. Peter Strzok has some notes out there, and it says Biden was actually the one suggesting a Logan Act violation. The Logan Act, which I think has almost never been prosecuted. I think there might have been a couple attempts early on at prosecutions, but I mean, it hasn't been prosecuted in hundreds of years, and they say it's very likely completely unconstitutional. So as Jonathan Turley concludes his op-ed, he says willful blindness has its advantages. In Washington, success often depends not on what you see, but on what you can unsee. And isn't that sad? Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.